According to West Encyclopedia of American Law, a signature is a mark or sign made by an individual on an instrument or document to signify knowledge, approval, acceptance, or obligation. It is another time on Let's Talk, and I am glad to welcome you on the show today. My name is Olujoke Mosaku. The guest for today is Mr. Bimbo Amusan, and the topic of discussion is law significance of signature. Stay with us. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'm glad and thank you once again. So the topic is law, the significance of signature. What exactly is signature? Of course, I said something a little about it in my introduction, but I'm sure as a legal practitioner, you have a broad view of what signature is all about.
Thank you for having me. Just like you rightly defined, a signature is a marking or a writing that connote or signify some form of intent, and that also act as a form of identifier. So that's like a general definition of what a signature is. It's a marking or a sign or a writing that helps to show intent and also acts as a form of identifier.
Okay, so what's the importance of signature?
Generally, the history of signatures, show us like how signatures and the importance, legal importance, evolved from time being, how it used to be very important to how the importance got a little watered down with the advent of some form of development in the different legal systems that exist in the world. So the right now, a lot can happen, a lot of agreement, a lot of contract can be gotten into without even having to physically sign anything. But in the traditional sense of a signature, it shows that you are ready to be legally bound by the content of an instrument or a document. And it also helps to show the parties to our document. Those are the people that sign the document. So intent and identification purpose. That's like the general importance of signatures.
So, signing a document, how legal does signature makes it?
Well, just like I said earlier, a signature shows that you want to be bound by a document. But beyond signing a document, there are 1,001 things that we can get done and we can still get legally bound by. So when you sign a document, you maybe just bind yourself more. But let me give you some instances. There are some type of transactions that no matter how hard you try, you must sign to be legally bound by. That is some documents that are covered by the statute of fraud. That way you must sign, for instance, if you want to buy a land, you must physically sign to be bound by that instrument. If you want to get married, you can't orally get married. You must sign a marriage license. If you want to appoint an executor and different other types of transactions like that. But some other types of agreements, these days, you can orally agree with someone to sell your car and perform under the contract and still be legally bound by the contract.
Do we have different types of signature?
Well, yes. There are different categorization of signatures depending on what topic we're talking about. If we're talking about art or some form of artistic discussion, there are different types. But narrowing it down to law, the types of signatures we have are the wet signature, the electronic signature, and the digital signature.
Okay, so help us break it down one after the other.
almost these days have the same legal significance and importance. If you sign a document with your pen, a physical pen, that is appending a wet signature to your to the document. If you maybe write your name in an electronic version under a document such as an email, if you say yours faithfully in an email electronically, that is an electronic signature. And then a digital signature is such that you make some form of marking or writing via a digital means, maybe a pen or your hand on the screen of a touch screen device and stuff like that. And just like I keep saying, they all have the same legal significance this day. And countries around the world, the United States, about 30 European countries, Nigeria, and a lot of other countries have given legal recognition and significance to electronic signatures, and they bind you exactly the way a wet and traditional signature will bind you.
Okay, so going further, explain requisites and validity of signature in business or any kind of transaction and the use of abbreviations, initials, or marks.
In business transactions, depending on what type of transactions that you're signatures are important. This is not to water down the importance of signature. Also, signatures help to deter people from denying their involvement in certain deals and transactions. So the fact that you can get bound orally or by not signing anything doesn't also mean that when you sign something, it doesn't make the transaction any better. It does. It helps. It helps deter people from avoiding their obligations on the transaction, and it reduces their ability to deny their involvement in transactions. You get it? So depending on the type of transactions, I said there are some transactions that you can do completely away with physical signature. But if, for instance, you're trying to buy a house, that involves a land and real estate, you must physically, no, not even like wet signature alone. You must append a signature. It could be digital, it could be electronic, it could be, but you can't orally agree to a mortgage agreement, for instance, or orally execute a marriage license. You must append a signature. So that's the significance in business transactions. But other types of transactions, like a sale contract, like some other form of, you want to sell your car, you want to like get into, oh, I want to order 1,000 widgets, 1,000 phones for my store. You can do all of that orally without necessarily signing anything.
That means the ABCs, the initials, can actually stand in any way.
A signature can be as complex as anything that you can think of, and it can be as simple as a single dot or an X or
So,
a Z or
okay, is there a strong signature and a weak signature? Because why I asked that question is because you see someone's signature, you can't even decipher what the person is, as if, it's so thick and so tight that you can't even explain what this person is trying to do, or it's so long and you wonder why it has to be like this.
So I would say, just to answer your question simply, in this current world that we live in, there is no simple or complex signature. There is no strong or weak signature. But in the former days, before technology and all of that, became this strong, for identity theft prevention and to avoid forgery and some other kind of identity theft, it was necessary to have a signature that other people could not make on your behalf, so that every document that your signature is found on can be trusted and believed to have been signed and executed by you and just you. But in this day that we live in, there are other ways to curb and prevent identity theft beyond just having complex signatures. Banks have other layers of security measures that they use, for instance, banks that they use to ensure that people do not steal the identity of others to perform some form of fraud. So in this day, if you still have a complex signature, that's absolutely good. But if you cannot come up with a complex signature, it's also very fine. Especially in the United States, I've seen many people just sign their name. That's how most people sign in the United States. In other jurisdictions like Nigeria, where I'm originally from, you see people sign in very complex ways. And this is to avoid identity theft, like I said. But in countries where that has been sorted out, you don't necessarily need to make it complex.
So in other words, it's okay to have a complex signature. If I know you said there's nothing like complex or something, but for me as a layman, I would want to say it's complex, but you should also try to remember the signature because we can easily forget it. So, right?
If you're artistic enough to come up with something complex, good luck, go ahead with it, absolutely. But if you cannot, simply signing your name in a unique way will do.
Okay. So let's quickly go on this break, and when we come back, we continue from there. Our guest is very much around. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. The program is still Let's Talk on DNT Work. And I have been talking to Mr. Bimbo Amusan, and the topic has been law, the significance of signature. I hope you've been able to learn one or two things if you started with us. But if you are just joining us, you can still learn something. We're not done yet. So stay with us. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Bimbo, for standing by and helping us out with the technicalities of what signature is all about. Because one thing is, we grew up to see signature. We grew up to in school, oh, you have to sign here, and you're in between. What do I write? How do I do it? Because I remember you're being told, if the signature you start with, you can't change it along the line. So you have to be sure, you have to try to remember whatever it is or however it is you do your creativity in terms of signing. All right. So what about now? You actually mentioned digital signature while you were talking, and you said basically, now, while you were talking, actually, you said electronics. Digital was one of them too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I said three, right? The wet, electronic, and the digital signature.
Okay. Now, and we are in the modern day whereby you don't even really have to go into any of these parastatals most of the time. And now with COVID, it's even easier to just let go of the writing, the artistic way of doing your signature, and just be on the internet to either just write a name, or okay, you have to sign and just keep it there in one way or the other. How has this helped the society so far, or how is it going to change the status quo of the society in terms like this?
Well, I want to say that as much as we can say COVID has changed the way we live, work, and probably love, there are a lot of things that have been done in preparation for times like this, and that is in terms of like technology, teleconferencing, video calls, and all of that. And that made the switch from a physical working to remote working to, that made the switch easier for us as individuals. So the same thing with signatures. For instance, in Nigeria, the act that incorporated the digital signatures into our laws was enacted in 2015. That's like 4 years or 5 years before COVID started. So we probably envisage times when we will not be able to physically gather in a place to sign documents. And they have come up with these forms of, signing in the alternative from just physically signing stuff. So I think we were well prepared for a time like this before the time came. And it's amazing that these days you literally don't have to do anything physically. Almost everything can be done remotely, including signing. So it makes it easier for all of us.
So can we relate signature and thumbprinting? Do they have any relationship, signature and thumbprinting?
In the olden days, in the former days, like it must be like way long in advanced countries like the US, but in a place like Nigeria where illiteracy is still like very high, or in other African countries, what the place thumbprint used to stand is usually a replacement for physical like wet signature. That is because a lot of people cannot even write down their name, and then everybody was created with a thumb. So they found a way to imprint ink on their thumb and then put it on documents. So it used to be a way to sign or show that you consent to a document. And then the legal significance of that is that we all know that no two people have the same fingerprint. So if you print your thumb on a document, there is no way you're denying that you actually did that. But just like the world moved from physically signing with a pen to digital, and we don't even know what we're moving to next, that's the same way we moved from thumbprint to actually signing. And then thumbprints are still acceptable. See, as I said, it can be a mark. A signature can be a mark, it can be a writing, anything. It could be an X, it could be A, it could be anything. So if thumbprint is what you're comfortable with, then you must always think about going to everywhere you go with an ink pad, so that you have something to thumbprint with. You get it. So and then the world has, just like I said, it keeps evolving. There are a lot of contracts now that you can get into without even signing electronically, digitally, or physically. You can get into. So things keep evolving. Maybe at some point in the future, we would even not need to sign anything again. Okay, let me give you an instance. If you want to download an app on your phone, by clicking I agree, whether you read the terms and conditions or not of the app, that's like appending your signature to be bound, and that's the terms and conditions says. So that's another way to sign. Okay. So you can also sign by just clicking a button. So different ways of signing.
Now, there is this thing I bumped on while I was reading on signature, and it's called Cursive Signature. How can you explain that?
Whatever type of signatures that, as I told you when I started, there are different categorizations of signature. And the one that we're most concerned about in this conversation are the ways signatures bind us. Just like there are different font sizes and fonts, for instance, in Microsoft Word, or different kind of writings. That's how you can have different categorization of signatures. But for the legal significance, we are better off concerning ourselves with the way signatures bind us legally. Whatever way you come up with your signature, whether cursive or in any other form of any other artistic way, doesn't increase or decrease the legal effect of the signature.
All right. So finally, what should we take note of before putting down our signature on any document?
We need to know that however we sign a document, we are going to be bound by it. Also, whether we read or think or consult about the terms of a document or not, as long as a person is in his right senses and does not have a gun to his head, that's under duress. Whatever you sign is going to bind you. So anytime you want to put your signature on something, you have to think it through. Whether you understand or not, putting your signature there, being in your right senses, not having a gun to your head, you are gonna be bound by this. So we have to put that in mind. I put some quick facts down about signatures first. Electronic signatures have the same significance as physical signatures. Secondly, signatures these days are not needed to be bound to have a legally binding agreement. That means you don't think, oh, I agreed to something orally because I didn't sign, I can get away with. Okay, I borrowed money from so person, and I promised them orally to return it. But since I didn't sign anything, it's not going to bind me. You lie. You're going to be bound by that loan agreement. You're going to pay back, especially when there are other circumstantial evidence to prove that you actually borrowed money, maybe like the transfer a lot, and then the fact that the person didn't buy anything from you. So even if you say, oh, the pay was a gift, there are other ways to prove that you actually got a loan without signing. So know that there are other ways to get into maybe trouble, quote and unquote, without even signing. Do not think you can get away with stuff because you simply did not sign. Thirdly, co-signing. A lot of us know about co-signing, but people do not know the details of co-signing. Just think, okay, I'm helping a friend or I'm helping a relative. The co-signer is as bound by the loan agreement as the main borrower. So you are as good as the person borrowing the money. If the person defaults one bit, they're gonna come after you. So those are like the three common simple facts that I decided to reiterate about signatures.
Do you have any other advice for people? Basically, people who do not even see it as important, or you say we have people who are learned and people who are not, literate and illiterate. How do we help this kind of people to actually do it right?
Like I said earlier, we have to pay more attention to these things these days. Generally, you see people talk about legal stuff with so much triviality. They think, oh, they can get away with a lot of stuff. They think it doesn't really matter whether I sign it or not. My friend is not going to come after me and all of that. We have to attach more importance to these things. You know this joke about signing one's death warrant, right? I mean, neutral, but a lot of people have signed their own death warrants by getting into credit card agreements, mortgage agreement that they would never be able to pay off, different kind of loans, different things. So just pay more attention to reading. These agreements can be tiring to read, but what's more tiring than paying a debt that you did not read about?
Or it's really long. It's always very long.
It's very long. Signing your own death warrant. Imagine your death warrant. You knew that was your death warrant. Wouldn't you read it? I think you read it. So we should pay more attention to this stuff. I'm not saying that I, as a lawyer, I read all of these terms and conditions, but the ones that are so important, I try not to get myself bound by things that I do not want to be bound by. So let's pay more attention. And then it is important to seek help. You always have someone, I know it's costly to get the service of a lawyer, but you always have people around you that are a little more enlightened than you are, even if they're not lawyers. There's a lot of do-it-yourself website online now where you can check out for legal advice and all of that. Always try to get some upper level of help in understanding things beyond what you yourself know. So a lot of people have asked questions that have saved them from slavery, from employments that they should not take in the first place, from agreement that they should not sign in the first place. So always seek help, clarification on things that you do not understand, and always read. As simple as reading sounds, a lot of us don't read. We just scroll through stuff and like, okay, I agree. So let's put in more effort to read before appending our signature or consent to documents.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bimbo Amusan. It's been wonderful having you on the show. And thank you too for watching Let's Talk and for staying tuned till the end. Make sure that before you put your pen on anything as in form of signature, try to read it. It is very important. We are all very lazy to actually read a whole lot of things before you get to the end. You just want to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But it would be nice if you take out time to actually read it through so you won't be sorry at the end of the day. Until another time when I come your way again with another exciting topic. Keep watching Let's Talk. Bye for now.